Happy Friday, everybody. If you are on this right now with me live, you are truly an obsessed tennis player. And I love you for it because I am too. And this live broadcast will be about helping you win your match, having an unfair advantage over the competition who right now might be out having some martinis or some margaritas and eating some bad food, but you're here wondering, how can I go out there tomorrow and play and win and kick some booty? Well, you're at the right place at the right time. And if you lose tomorrow, I'm going to give you a full refund on tonight's lesson. How about that? Well, it is free. So anyway, come on in, say hello, let me know who you are, where you're from, and are you playing a match this weekend? You got a match this weekend, you got a match next week. How's your season going? I want to know all those things before we go into tonight's lesson. And I certainly am appreciative that you are here with me spending some time talking about what we love most, which is tennis. So tonight's topic is I'm going to give you 5 killer tips to play more consistent tennis. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. 5 killer tips to play more consistent tennis. And, you know, I think that tennis, if you want to win a lot of matches, it's all about consistency. That's why we're actually working on a new course called Consistency. Stop Missing for No Reason at All, because if you can't put the ball in, you can't win. Right? Does that make sense? So tonight's lesson is going to get you definitely a step closer to playing a lot better tennis. So let's get right into it. And let's start giving you guys some major value right now. So what I want you to do is when you're walking on the court, you're in your warm-up. The first thing I want you to focus on is I want you to focus on establishing a consistent height over the ball. I find that this is the best way to play what they call in the zone, right? Many people think, playing in the zone is hitting a bunch of winners all over the place. No, playing in the zone is keeping a lot of balls in between the lines, all right? And if you can establish your height over the net, you can start to then play consistent tennis. And what I want you to do is I want you to establish a ball that has height and spin, and we want to have some shape. We want to have some arc. So I'm going to pick up the mic here. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. If you guys can hear me, let me know. Chat box is right next to the video, so let me know. But I want your ball to be going up and over the net. I want it to have an arc. I don't want it to be line driving through the court. I don't want you to be trying to hit the ball a million miles an hour flat. I want you to establish a nice height and spin over the net, anywhere from 2 to 4 feet. Heck, I don't even mind if it's 6 feet over the net. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. If you like that tip, I would love some feedback. You can comment right next to this video. You can give this a thumbs up. That all lets me know that you are liking the information. And of course, you can always ask questions. And I can see right now, I can basically see what you guys are saying right now. Okay, so that is tip number 1, is I want you to focus on getting a height over the net. Now you're going to notice that these all work in a progression. We're still on the warm-up. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to focus on, this is extremely important, I want you to focus on 50% power and 100% feet. And if you can do this, this is a simple tip, but I need you to really hear me right now. I need you to get the wax out of your ear, and I need you to listen, hear me, and then do it when you go play tomorrow. Thank you for the thumbs up. I need you to do this. 50% power, 100% footwork. I got this tip from Nick Saviano, who has coached so many great tennis players on the professional tour. And this is what he tells his players. This is what he tells his pros who can blast amazing, hard, flat shots. He tells them, no, when you go out there, I want you to start 50% power, and I want you to go 100% with your feet. And he says that most players do the opposite. They start 100% power and 50% footwork. And I will tell you that with my experience on the court, when I usually feed in the first ball to my lesson takers, they usually are just staying there flat-footed, and I have to keep reminding them, hey, I'm not going to feed you the ball until your feet are dancing and moving like a boxer. So if you want to get a lot better tennis, what you want to do is be kind of dancing, switching feet back and forth, kind of hopping on each foot. And then when the ball is getting ready to hit, split step. Okay. If you can get in that habit and do that consistently, your feet are going to start going. And then if you can control the ball and go 50% power, you're going to find that you're going to get into a great rhythm. Too many people stand flat footed. And especially when you start playing your match, and the match is at its tightest moment, you're the most nervous. This is when the feet lock up. So get in the habit of always moving. Saviano coached Sloane Stevens. That is absolutely right, Andrew. Thank you for your comment. He also coached Eugene Broussard, as well as 50 other WTA and ATP players. He is a coaching legend, so we should listen to what he says. In fact, he's got tip number 3 for you guys. So I picked up a lot of this from a speech I saw Nick give when I was speaking at a USPTA conference in Missouri. The next one is money, and it worked for me so well. And that is, as you're hitting the ball, think over the net and in. Not just think it, but say it. Like as the ball's coming, you see it coming, it bounces, you're going over the net and in. Over the net and in. Now, if you got good setup and good footwork, you can swing through the shot. But let's say there's a ball that's a couple feet in front of you and you got a late start, and you can just put your hand out. Even as you're hitting that ball, you say to yourself, over the net and in. Do whatever it takes, however you have to swing, whether it's tapping the ball, stroking the ball, whatever it is, your head of the priority is get the ball over the net and in, no matter how you do it. Because if you can just do that alone with no strokes, you'll win a ton of matches. Andrew says, jumping rope helped me stay light on my feet. Jumping rope is one of the best tennis exercises. I totally agree with you, Andrew, and I'm proud that you are doing that. I want to thank people who are giving this video a thumbs up, and I want to thank you if you're out here watching us late on a Friday night so you can go win your match this weekend. So we've got 3 tips to focus on right now. Number 1, we're going to focus on height when we hit the court. Number 2, we're going to have 50% power, 100% feet. Number 3, we're going to hit that ball over the net and in. We're going to say it. Now, when do you know you're doing this right? The over the net and in is when it becomes almost like a rhythmic dance. Okay, when you're hitting and that over the net and in becomes almost like it replaces a grunt. I think, sometimes players on the tour get a bad reputation for grunting too loud. I think it's actually a good thing. It releases the nerves and it gets you into a rhythm. It gets you into a flow. Well, if you're hitting that ball and you're saying to yourself over the net and in, and it gets into a flow state for you, you know that you're doing it right. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, give this video a like, hit the share button, share this right next to the like, share this so that your tennis buddies and colleagues and teammates can see this so you can all win together. Okay, next we're going to get into your serve warm-up. This is one of the biggest problem areas I see, and especially if we have men out there watching tonight, this is one of the biggest problem areas I see that's keeping you from playing good tennis. Because let's face it, if you're not serving well, if you're not making a lot of first serves in the court, you are going to be at such a disadvantage. And so I'm going to walk you through a serve warm-up ritual. And again, it is so important to make a lot of first serves. Do you think Azarenka or Sharapova grunt too loud? They do grunt pretty loud, but I also think that they are releasing their tension into the ball, and they can't be thinking about what the fans think of their grunting as they're in the heat of a 3-set match. That's my opinion. So, serve warm-up. Serve warm-up. Most people, when I give them a lesson, I say, show me your serve. They start crushing serves. If they like to jump into a serve, they jump right away. Your body is rarely ready for all that activity. Thank you. Now we're getting more people on, and thumbs up. Keep the party going. So when you are going into your serve, the first thing that I focus on is, we're going back to number 1. When I start serving, I'm focused on establishing a height over the net and a spin. I want a spin over the net as well. Okay, so I want height and spin over that net. That's the first thing I'm trying to do. And believe it or not, my first couple serves, I don't even care if they go in. I just want to see the ball going high over the net, and I want to see the ball spinning. I want to feel the ball spinning off my strings. I definitely don't want to start and hit a bunch of flat, hard serves. That's the opposite of what I want to do. The other thing that I'm going to be focused on, so I'm going to move this chair here. We'll probably be done with the chair for the rest of the presentation. The other thing is, as I am serving, I am only allowed, I tell myself as I'm serving, I'm only allowed to move my back toe. My both feet have to stay on the ground, and I can only move my back toe. I just basically move the hip into the serve, back toe goes, and I'm looking to establish my balance. That's another huge thing. Not enough people establish their balance, their height, and their spin on the serve, so they end up setting themselves up for a match that might have a lot of double faults, okay? Think about that. If you're out there blasting serves right away and not working on your height or your spin over the net, you could be setting yourself up for a lot of double faults. Intro music way too loud. Is that another comment? I don't think there's any music going on, hopefully. How is the sound right now, guys? Is the sound okay? Is there any intro music going on? Anyway, that kind of threw me off. Where was I? So I want to make sure this sound's okay for you guys. So we're only allowed to move our toe. We're working on height and spin. What we don't want to do is hit a bunch of flat serves, because then we're going to have to hit a lot of second serves. You want to be able to hit a lot of first serves in your match. Okay, the sound is good. Sound is fine. Thank you so much. That's got me more relieved. It's always nerve-wracking going live, guys. It always is nerve-wracking going live. So the importance of making first serves. I want you to really, really take this to heart right now. When someone, I'll just say how I feel. When someone's serving a first serve at me, my number one goal is get the ball back in play. If I can get the ball back in play, I am feeling good about myself. I'm going, okay, I accomplished my goal. The guy served it at me. I got the serve back in play. I feel good. Now, if it's their second serve, I start thinking a bunch of different stuff. I start thinking about, what do I want to do here? Do I want to chip and charge? Do I want to go for a winner? Do I want to hit a heavy topspin ball at their backhand? Like, I'm thinking like I should win this point now. And if you look at the Pro Tour, think about how great their second serves are. And as great as their second serves are, they're only usually winning 40 to 50% of their second serve points. So when you're playing a match, most of your first serves even should have some degree of spin on it. You want to be able to put at least, I'd say your goal should be 55 on the low end to 70% of your first serves in play. So you only have to then put your second serve in play, 30 to 35% of the time. And then you don't want to be putting double faults in play. So make sure that you're establishing that height and the spin. Now after I feel that, then I'm going to do something where I come here and now I'm looking to hit my serve. I'm not jumping yet. I'm stepping around. So I'm still looking to establish my balance. I'm stepping around on the serve, and that's all I'm allowed to do. Now the serves are starting to come a little harder, but mostly those serves have spin on it. Then after that, I go into something I call the lazy jump, which now I'm just, if you guys are not jumpers, don't force it either. But now I'm not like full board jumping. I'm lazily jumping in the ball. I'm just like, my body is still like spaghetti, because what I'm trying to do is establish serve flow. I'm trying to feel a rhythm, a flow, and balance in my serve. These are the most important things to be able to go out there and serve consistently. And once I do that, once I go through that whole ritual, now and only then am I going to start like bouncing the ball and go into my rituals of playing a real point. And I'm still mostly working on hitting some slice serves, because that's my number one serve, hitting some kick serves. And then I'm only going to throw in maybe a handful, probably less than a handful of flat serves in my warm-up. And that's the way I'm mostly going to play my matches, with slice and kick serves, and throw in the flat serve occasionally, probably 10% or less. Does that make sense? Do you guys like this lesson so far? Are there any questions? Because now we're going to get ready to go into match mode. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is now we've warmed up. We've got our height going. We've got our footwork going. We've got over the net and in going, and we've got our serve warmed up properly. So now we're ready to play the match. If you guys are ready to play the match, give this video a thumbs up, share this video, comment, let me know what you guys are thinking. So this is so important. When you go to play a match, everybody, including myself, dreams of playing like Roger Federer. What do I think of when I watch Roger Federer? Kind of like watching Michael Jordan. I have no idea what this guy is going to do next. It is must-see TV. He hits, one shot hard cross court, the next ball down the line, then he'll hit a shot, a drop shot that's just breathtaking. And then maybe he'll hit an in between the leg shot in one point. Like, you just don't know what Roger's going to do. And we all want to play like that. But unfortunately, for most of us out there, that's not going to equal a lot of wins. That's not going to really probably work for us if we go and play a match tomorrow, unless we're playing out of our mind, okay? Instead, what I want you to think about is I want you to think about when you're in a point with your opponent, I want you to stay in the winning pattern most of the points longer than your opponent, okay? And the best winning pattern in tennis, whether you're playing singles, whether you're playing singles or doubles, your best winning pattern is cross court, okay? And when Andre Agassi was at his very, very best in the tennis world, he basically played what I would consider a game of chicken. He basically said, look, my cross court ball is awesome, and I'm going to play a game of chicken with you. I'm basically going to stay in this pattern until you freak out and go down the line. And most of the time when they did this, they did a couple things to Andre. They would either go down the line and miss wide or miss long, because as we know, if you're a little late, it's going to go wide. As we know, as you go down the line, there's less court. And also, if they went down the line but they left it short, so they're in this cross-court rally, they leave it short, Andre runs over here, now he hits a cross-court winner. So the idea of staying in a pattern much longer, much more patient than your opponent, that's how you're going to win a lot of matches, even if you're playing doubles, especially when there's two people back. Now, you do not have to hit the ball as hard. It sounds like this is during play, not during the serve warm-up. Right. Yes, Richard, we're now into the match. We're now into the match. And this is what you want to do when you're in a rally, is you want to stay in that winning pattern longer than your opponent. Think about each point as a game of chicken, and you do not have to hit the ball. What Andre was so good at is hitting that ball pretty hard and flat, deep cross court. I want you to maybe think a little bit more like your Rafa Nadal and get more shape and height on the ball and look to get the ball high at your opponent. Not many people can consistently hit the ball high and get it successfully cross court and deep. What usually happens, and Rafa is the king at this, he'll hit a high ball, just go back to into our board. The way Andre would run this, the way Nadal would run this is he would hit the ball high and deep, and then eventually the opponent hits the ball short, and then he'd run around, usually in an inside out forehand winner. That's the way Nadal likes to run his play. So I think that the Nadal method of play is actually a lot more doable at our level of play. I think it's something that we can adopt, and you don't have to hit as much topspin as Rafael Nadal. You could even hit more lobby shots. I talked to a guy yesterday we're coming up with TennisCon 2, and I talked to a guy who was #1 in the 60 and over age bracket in Texas, and he said how the guy who was #2 had an awesome backhand, but he knows how he kind of like flatly punched his forehand. And so he realized, okay, that guy doesn't really have a great forehand technique. So I'm just going to basically lob the ball to his forehand. And this guy was an aggressive player. This guy loved to come to the net. Jim, who did this lob play, he was aggressive. He didn't like to stay back and rally forever, but he would use that to eventually get a short ball, and then he'd attack and come to the net. So it's a great way to win a lot of points. So there are your 5 tips, and I have a couple of bonus tips that I think you're really going to like. So let's get ready for the bonus tips. I'm also going to put a link here, guys. The reason why I'm going through this live with you, besides us hanging out and having a good time, is we are working on a new course called Consistency, Stop Missing for No Reason at All. So if you like this material and you want to play more consistent tennis, you can click on the link I just put there in the comment section, and you can get on the alert list. We'll probably be releasing the 3-part series in about 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so here's your bonus tips. Number 1 is tennis is such a frustrating game. It is so frustrating. It's very hard to be consistent mentally, right? That's probably even more important than being consistent as far as making your shots, is having a consistent, calm mind that's ready and focused to play point in and point out. And I actually got this from the guy Jim, who it was a great interview we did, who was number 1 in the state of Texas in his age group, open tennis, and he took mental training from a coach that basically said, when you play tennis, you can be in different states of mind. You can be high positive, which means like you just want to point, you hit an unbelievable shot and you're like super pumped up. So your mind, the adrenaline's pumping, you're in a high positive state of mind. You can be low positive, meaning, you feel pretty good. You maybe you hit an okay shot, or you feel like you're closing in on the match. And so, you're starting to get excited. You can be neutral, which just means just kind of like in a flow, Zen type state. You're not too high, you're not too low. It's that Goldilocks. You're just right. You can be low negative, where you're starting to kind of get down on yourself, like kind of realize like, oh man, I just let a couple break points, go by. What's wrong with me? Or you can be high negative. You can basically be Bernard Paire style. If you saw Bernard Paire bust his racket against against Baghdadis, you know what I'm talking about. And I think we've all been there, whether we throw our rackets or not. We've all been in that state where we're just like out of our mind, like we're so frustrated with ourselves, because tennis can do that. So that's high negative. So after a point, you're going to naturally go to one of those places. You're either going to finish a point and be neutral, which, if you can do that every single point, then that's awesome. It's not easy to do. You can be low negative, you can be high negative, you can be high positive. But what you have to do is work your way back to neutral before you start the next point. Okay, you have to work your mindset back to neutral. You have to realize, you have to ask yourself after the point, how do I feel right now? I'm in high positive. I'm like out of my mind. I'm like ready to win the match. I just hit one of the best shots I've hit all year. I'm super pumped up. And you have to go, okay, well, that's cool that I feel that way, but I've got to work myself. I've got to calm myself back down and work my way back to neutral before I serve the ball and play, or before I return the serve. You could miss a shot, and it's okay. It's okay to like give yourself a little slap and and say, how could you miss that shot? I how could I do that? It's okay to do that. But then you have to then go to yourself and be aware and say, okay, right now I'm in high negative. That's okay, because it was a shot I should have made, but let me work my way back to neutral before I play the next point. Do you guys like that? Does that make sense to you guys? So that's a bonus tip right there, to kind of always have a consistent way about going about it. All right, now here is your next tip, and this is a really good one. I got this from Jorge Capestany. Jorge Capestany is going to be part of TennisCon 2. He did this presentation in TennisCon 1, which was really, really good. And he talks about singles IQ. Have you guys seen Jorge's singles IQ presentation? It's awesome. And he talks about playing smart tennis to win more matches, rather than having to rely on playing out of your mind and hitting a bunch of winners, and thinking more about the other side of the court and what you're feeding your opponent. Now, he breaks the body down into 4 parts. So I'm going to have you heard of Michael Chang's 3R mental system? No, I'd love to know. Andrew, I'd love to know that. Maybe if you could write that down as I'm talking here. So Jorge, he breaks down the body into four parts. I'm going to show my leg, going to show a little leg for you guys. So basically, feet to your knees, that's area 1 on your body. Knees to your hips, that's area 2 on your opponent's body and on your body. Number 3, when and where is TennisCon? TennisCon is going to be online. You can get a free ticket. We'll be emailing people out. Just keep watching YouTube and be on our email list. You'll definitely know about TennisCon. Area 3 is from your hips just below your chest. Okay, this is where most people like to hit the ball. This is where we can really get in the groove. And so this is where I like to hit the ball, but the bad part about that is if I see this in area 3, I usually send it right back to area 3 because I want to drive through this ball. And so Jorge found is what a lot of people do is they basically set their opponent up for to play in the zone, and then they're confused on why they lost. They can even go, I don't know what happened. I got smoked out there today, and I actually hit the ball pretty good. And that's because you're hitting the ball right to area 3 on your opponent's body. So what you want to be as the player, area 4 is your chest and above. You want to be the player that is always mixing it up. You know, it's certainly not wrong, and you're going to hit a lot of balls into your opponent's area 3, and that's fine. But look to mix it up. You know, hit some balls and get it up intentionally into area 4, especially if you're playing someone who's got a one-handed backhand. That's a no-brainer. You should try and just murder that person. That's a terrible, I shouldn't say it like that, but you know what I mean. You should just give them a heavy dose of area 4 balls. Okay, balls chest and above. You're going to get so many short balls, and then you can come in and crush the ball. Also, as you get balls shorter into the court, I will try and think about that when I need to hit the shot right away. Also, as you come into the court, as you're getting more shorter balls, this is again where people really always think about crushing the ball. But when you get up in here, it's another great idea to hit the ball low. Get it to area 1. Make the person have to hit passing shots out of their shoelaces rather than getting the short ball and putting all this pressure on yourself to come up with a winner to put the ball away. You know, unless you absolutely feel it. If the ball is higher and over the net and the closer you are to the net, then it's easier to do that. But if you're having to hit an approach shot somewhere like in no man's land, like in this area of the court, I much prefer a chip shot, especially if you're playing doubles or you have a backhand. But even if I get a forehand, I will still lots of times hit a chip shot to make sure that I can get to the net. It gives me time to get to the net, and it makes my opponent have to hit from their feet. How often do you do this broadcasting? Do you like the broadcasting? I do not have a schedule. Maybe I should make a schedule. Jorge's lesson was really good to be aware of what you're doing. Yes, Peter, it was. There's another Pete on there. So there you go, guys. There is all your tips. I'll review them. And if you like this kind of training, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put a link for you that you guys can get on our email list. So we do go live, you'll know. And also, we are coming up with a new course coming up in a couple of weeks called Consistency. Stop missing for no reason at all. Because if the ball isn't in, you can't win. And we're going to come up with a 3-part series before we release the course, and it's absolutely free. So that's how you get on the alert list for that. So you'll know when that comes out. You'll know when TennisCon comes out. And so make sure you click that link I just put in the chat box. So let me just review this real quick before we leave each other tonight. To win your matches this weekend, number 1, focus on height in your warm-up. Establish a height and a spin, anywhere from 2 to 4, even as high as 6 feet. Depends on how much you spin the ball. Number Love the broadcasting. When you chip from no man's land, is the idea to keep it as low and get to the net? Yes. Uh, is it low and get as deep as you can? Sometimes go deep, sometimes intentionally go short. I like to also bring the opponent in as I approach, especially if I feel like I've got stronger volleys. So that's a great question. Okay, so we're going through we're recapping tonight. Number one, we're in our warm up. We're focused on height. We're focused on 50% power, 100% feet. If you can do 50% power, 100% feet from now on, you will be, I guarantee you, there's only like 2% of people at the club level doing that in their warm up. Most people just stand flat footed. I've given thousands and thousands of lessons, and anytime I see a person move their feet in warm up without me having to tell them, I'm shocked. I'm just telling you the truth. So if you can be one of those people, you will stand out like a sore thumb in a good way. As you're hitting the ball, say to yourself, over the net and in to get in the rhythm, over the net and in, and over the net and in, however you got to do it. If the ball is shorter and you got to go up to it and just tap it, say to yourself, over the net and in, just make sure it gets over that net and in any way you can, just so you're establishing a consistent play and you're starting to develop a rhythm and a flow state. Number four is when you go to warm up your serve, don't start hitting the ball hard. Again, establish height and spin. Establish balance. Don't start jumping into your serve. Okay, stand still and eventually start to jump easy into your serve and then go and test your body. Your body's not ready to start jumping when you start hitting serve, guys. And it's not ready to start serving the ball hard. Number five is stay in the winning pattern longer than your opponent, meaning that if you're going cross court, stay cross court longer, play, make it a game of chicken. Make it a game of I dare you to go down the line because I'm not budging and I'm the best cross court rallier in my region. Bonus training. Always play in a neutral state if you can. You're gonna go high negative. You're gonna be pissed off at yourself. That's normal. You're gonna be high positive. You're gonna hit a shot that you just can't believe you pulled off, or maybe you're getting close to beating someone you never beat, and you're just like out of your mind. That's fine too. Feel that. But before you start the next point, work your mind down to neutral. Okay. Let's see. Richard said he likes to chip the doubles as a return, chip return in doubles. Absolutely. Then your other bonus training was singles IQ. Think about your opponent as numbers from knees to feet is 1, knees to hips, area 2, hips to chest, area 3, and chest and above, area 4. Give your opponent as many 1s and 4s as you can. And I promise, if you can just do a couple of these things this weekend, you will walk off the court feeling like you played a pretty solid match. You will feel like you played pretty darn good. And most likely, if the person's just not out of your league, you will probably win. I think so. So hopefully enjoyed tonight's lesson. I'll take any questions now for a couple minutes before I hang up. You can ask me anything. You can ask me about tennis. You can ask me about my life. You can ask me about anything, and I will just hang out for a couple minutes. Otherwise, don't forget your free training. I will put it one more time in the chat for you guys. I just hit it, click that link, sign up, get on in. And thank you guys so much for hanging out. That was very, very fun. And I hope you guys got a lot out of tonight. Before you leave, also don't forget to hit the, what do you think about the Murray situation? Jason, great question. This is what I want to talk about. Okay. Thank you for the likes too, guys. If you guys could hit the like button a couple more times and share this, that would be awesome. So Jason asked, what do I think about the Murray situation? I have not seen Murray play yet, but I did talk to Matt of Coffee Break Tennis, who is watching tennis like around the clock. And he said that Murray looks awkward moving around the court. Like you can tell he's in pain. Jason, would you say that that's what you're seeing? That's just what I've heard. I cannot comment one way or the other if I think he's moving well or not. But Matt, who is a good friend of mine, basically my sidekick. We do videos here on Crunch Time Coaching, and he does his coffee break tennis. And he says that Murray looks like he is struggling with his movement. What do you guys think? That's my opinion on it. Any other questions? Great question, Jason. Any other questions? Anything tennis, pro tennis, your own matches, anything you want to know, ask me, and I'll hang out with you guys for maybe another 5 minutes. Great tips. Do I find watching the spin or the bounce helps you see the ball better? Yes, that's great. So, Pete, you just asked a great question. I feel that most tennis players don't have a strong enough survival instinct. Their senses are not heightened enough. If you're going to get into a sport like boxing, which thank God I'm not a boxer because I wouldn't want to be, but you have to be aware of everything before it's even coming. You have to sense things. You have to notice any tiny little move. You have to notice what's about to happen, because if you don't, you're going to get knocked out and you're going to be on the ground, passed out. And so, players in a sport like that, or in football, they have much better survival instincts. They tend to see what's happening before it happens better than, a lot of tennis players, especially at our level. This book is called Focus Tennis. That's cool. So when you're playing, first of all, let's say you're the first one hitting the ball. As you're hitting the ball, you want to go, okay, I just hit a really good shot. I think that this might hurt my opponent. Then you want to be looking at their first step. Are they reacting late? Are they on time? Look at their preparation. And then you definitely want to be looking at their swing path. If they're coming like this, they're coming with a slice. If they're coming like this, they're coming top spin. Look how they're bending their legs. Definitely you want to be reading the spin. All that stuff. You want to know what's coming before it comes over the net. You want to kind of have a good idea what's coming before they even hit the ball. And if you can do that, you're going to play much better tennis. Do I see Ryan Harrison winning a major in the next couple of years? Harry Johnson, I wish, but the answer is no. I don't think he will come close to winning a major. Does anybody else think that? I would like to know. I do not see Ryan here. I am proud of Ryan Harrison, though, that he got to the finals of Atlanta 2 years in a row. So that's pretty cool. But out of any of our Americans who has a chance of winning, which is kind of weird, I guess you kind of have to go with Isner. Isner won Miami this year, which is a big tournament. He was literally, anybody could have won that match, the Wimbledon match. That was just a battle of attrition. Those guys fought he could have easily been in the finals Wimbledon this year. And so I would say out of our Americans, anybody that looks like they might have a chance, it's Isner. Unfortunately, all the young guys who have potential and talent and should be the ones we're looking at as maybe, our great hopes for American tennis, they're just not doing anything. They're doing well in 250 tournaments, but in bigger tournaments, they just don't show up, unfortunately. Any other questions? This is good stuff. Thank you guys for hanging on with me. I will stay on for one more minute. What are the keys to successful serve and volley game on a hard court today? That's a great question. What are the keys to successful serve and volley? First of all, let's think about some of the best serve and volleyers of all time. Let's think about Pat Rafter. Let's think about Pat Cash. Let's think about John McEnroe. Let's think about Stefan Edberg. These guys did not have huge serves. I believe that, especially for us, it's not about hitting a big serve. It's about being able to get a serve, certainly having a serve that can go off the court, that you can get your opponent off the court. I think that's important. I think a really good into the body serve is important. And I think a good first step is important, and split stepping before your opponent hits the ball. The next thing you have to do, okay, which I'm actually making as a lesson inside the consistency course. So to be a consistent volleyer and consistently win points is when you're starting volleying, you're going to get to about here. If you can get to here, that's awesome, but you're still in setup mode. So what you want to think about is you kind of have to play like an assassin. You're only going to get about 2 shots max to win the point. And so for the most part, you're looking for that first volley around here to be a great setup volley somewhere in the corner, usually to someone's backhand corner, okay? So getting the ball deep to the backhand corner and then getting up in here, make sure you're not in the middle, make sure you're shading towards where the ball is, and then you have to be very good at boxing your second volley. You're looking to get the ball, your second volley, in a box, and if it can move off in the doubles alley, you're going to win a ton of points serve and volley. What do I think of Tsitsipas? Oh, Isner seems to be getting better. What changes do I think he made? I think Isner's just getting more confident. He says he's focused more on his body. He says his body feels good. And he says, at this point, I really know how to hit a tennis ball. So he's got confidence in his strokes. I think he's become a better player all around, John Isner. And his body is holding up more. That's what I think. I love Tsitsipas. I love his strokes. I really hope that he can start to win a lot of big matches and go deep in tournaments. I think that he has the it factor. I think people really like watching him play. And he could be a star and he could certainly win a major. Isner can't break, so he relies on tiebreakers. That is true, Richard. Obviously, Isner has a tough time breaking, although I would say over the last 2 or 3 years, I think Isner, although his return game isn't certainly anything like Novak Djokovic by any stretch of the imagination, I think his return game is getting better. I think his overall around his game overall in every aspect has improved. He made the semis of DC. Yes, he's very good. He's awesome. He is awesome. You guys are awesome too. You guys are awesome too. Any other questions before I take off? It's 9:42. I will stay until 9:45. You guys are asking great questions. It's certainly a debate, a very good debate, of who will be the first one of the young guns, of the next geners, to win a major. And will the next geners win a major before Rafa and Roger retire? As much as I love watching Rafa and Roger play, I certainly hope a next gener will win a major before those guys are out, because it'll be kind of scary if those guys just retire and the rest of the tour, it's like almost feels like the scab team now getting the tour handed off to them, rather, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping, for the sake of the sport, we can have like a Boris Becker moment, a Pete Sampras moment, where we have this young guy out of nowhere holding a trophy, and we're like, oh, this is the future of tennis. We just haven't been able to get it. And it's getting kind of scary, because I've always seen it in my lifetime. Every generation, I've seen this young gun, this upstart, come up and show that they're the next real thing. And we haven't been seeing it. It's really odd, I think. But it also goes to show you how amazing Roger and Rafa and Novak and Murray have been, especially the first 3. Murray has been great, but certainly not as consistent as the other guys I mentioned. I'm very, very cool. This was a lot of fun. What do I think? When do you decide to take a ball on the rise? Oh my gosh, that is a great tip or question. I will end with that. What do I think of Halep winning the French Open, then not doing well at Wimbledon at all? I think it is tough to do well on clay and then come and do well on grass. I think that is hard to do. I think that's hard to back up. Now, I'm gonna finish with Evan's question. Evan's question is fantastic, and I've got a clear answer for this. When do you take the ball on the rise? So let's say you're playing someone with a heavy topspin, or they are a moon baller, and certainly the more balls you can take on the rise against a topspin player or a moon baller, you're gonna do a lot better, right? The more you keep giving up court and moving back against a top spinner or a moon baller, you are playing right into what they want. You're playing right into what they want. Now, that being said, I kind of like look like right here. Can you guys see this as the line of delineation? If the ball is going to be bouncing past here, okay, you can basically take your racket and put it out into the court, or maybe it's 2 racket lengths. Anywhere in there, the ball's going to be bouncing, especially if it has heavy spin or it's super high. Even if you back up to the fence, you're still going to have to hit against the fence like this. Does that make sense? So you have to learn to take these balls on the rise, whether you even just take them out of the air and block it if that's too hard for you, if you have the opportunity, or whether you just kind of push it back as it bounces. That's probably better than going back to the fence. Now, as the ball is going high and landing in here, right in front of that, in front of this delineation, now you have to make a decision. How early did I see the ball? If I see the ball early and I see it as an opportunity, I can move into the court and attack it. That's fantastic. But lots of times that's tough to do. I wouldn't put that pressure on myself if I don't see the ball early, because, think about that. You've got to move up, and then you got to get back in position. And lots of times you're going to mistime that. So on balls that are coming high and landing about here, if I don't see it early, I probably will back up and let the ball go up again and die down, and I'll hit the ball somewhere here, and I'll look to hit my own high ball back. That's how I deal with high balls and decide if I'm going to take them on the rise or not. So hopefully that helped you. Okay, great question. That is it for tonight. You guys were awesome. I'm going to probably go to bed soon. Again, one last time, if you want the free training, I'll put the link right there. I'm glad you enjoyed those tips, Evan. And all that kind of stuff is going to be inside the Consistency Stop Missing for No Reason at All course. And everybody have a great night. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.